And another big winner joining us now, Ben Tribbett. Ben, you're a big winner last night. Good to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, John.
Thanks.
So I like ketchup with my crow when you serve it.
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce with my... Good thing Ben didn't bet me anything, or he would have been the big winner last night.
He could have.
All right, so Ben, what happened?
Well, I mean, I think this was a referendum on President Trump, and that's what was going on in Northern Virginia. There are, in an election like this, a lot of issues that come up over the course of a campaign where, you know, the candidates will bicker about them or something will happen and it will become the story of the day. But you can't change the overall dynamics of what the election is about for voters. And for everything that went on in this campaign, the voters put all of that aside. And this is really about the president, especially in Northern Virginia. People are upset with what the president's doing. They're upset with his tone. Republicans are upset with him. And what you saw is Democrats unwilling to cross over for any Republicans. Remember that in 2013, Terry McAuliffe carried 52 House districts, and Democrats only won 34 on his coattails down ballot from him. So there were 18 seats where voters decided to cross over and vote for a Republican delegate and a Democratic candidate for governor. Last night, and you know the results, we'll be able to break them all down as we get further into the week here. There were virtually no districts in the entire state that voted for Ralph Northam and voted for a Republican candidate for delegate.
Nope.
There were almost no precincts where you saw crossover in the state. This was Democratic voters enraged and casting a straight Democratic ticket because of it. And that's what happened in the House of Delegates, the wipeout, and it's also what happened in the 3 statewide races. And you know, in a normal election year, Jill Vogel might have had a chance, even with her candidate for governor losing. Not in this year.
So, okay, Ben, there's no question the Democrats got their voters out. They were much more motivated last night, and you know, there was a lot of relitigating of Hillary Clinton's loss that went on, right? You would agree with that. People were just upset over the fact that Clinton lost, and they came out, they voted for their candidates.
Well, I think it's no more that Clinton lost, that Trump won and is in office.
Right.
I mean, it's not like she lost to John Kasich.
Right.
Or Marco Rubio.
I will say this, guys. I mean, I think, you know, with all due respect to our host here, I think you have a little bit of a blind eye to it because you like the president and you were a state chairman, and so, you know, I think that's hurting your ability to actually see what's going on here. But this isn't.
Yes.
Don't talk about this in a normal manner. This isn't a normal political.
There's nothing.
Thing. People are
exactly.
offended by it because the president's behavior is offensive. Okay, like he has aides that are being indicted for conspiracy against the United States. The behavior of his supporters is offensive. The people that he seems to embrace after Charlottesville is offensive. I will tell you, John, yesterday, you know, I was tweeting about the races in the morning before and after I came out on your show. People were nationally following it. I was getting some retweets that took my things out to a broader audience than they normally go to, into a national audience. And I had a number, of Trump supporters from around the country, and you can tell when they're Trump supporters because they have MAGA in their name or whatever, come on and make these belittling comments. And I'm not talking about disagreeing with my analysis. I immediately, within 5 minutes of starting to tweet, there was a Trump supporter from New York that came on and immediately tagged me and started pointing out that that they thought that, well, he's Jewish and that's why he's saying this. And I think they called me, I forget the word for it. They used the Nazi slang term for Jewish press that was used in the 1940s and started tagging my posts with it. Okay, that's the type of thing that the president is attracting around him, and it's offensive, and his behavior of who he embraces is offensive, and people are disgusted with him. So let's not normalize it into this idea of Democrats are upset that Hillary Clinton lost. Democrats are upset that we have a president that seems to embrace a bunch of supporters that support white supremacy and Nazism, okay, and can't seem to even get the words out to condemn it, even when there's attacks in Charlottesville. That's offensive, okay? So let's just not normalize it.
Totally agree.
Well, look, I go on CNN, Ben, and they put your Twitter up on the monitor of the screen. And so I'll get back home and I'll put my Twitter on, and I'll get, anytime I'm on CNN, I'll get 250 to 300 tweets. And if it's 300, 298 of them are nasty and vile. One I actually put as an example on Facebook one time, just so people could see what you deal with. So, look, I feel your pain. I get it 3 times a week. Both sides are vile and nasty. There's both sides. I mean, I've been called names like you would not believe. People make fun of, my hair, my appearance, my weight, call me an idiot, call me a moron, make fun of my speech impediment. I mean, it's brutal. So, it goes both ways. I hear what you're saying. When you're at the other end of it, it doesn't feel good. It did feel good to you yesterday. It's happened to me for a year and a half. So after the first month or so, you just get callous to it and you laugh at it. But I do hear what you're saying.
Again, I got to disagree with this. I've been doing this for decades. Okay, I've been working in politics for 20 years. The mean stuff always goes on. Okay, people make comments about all sorts of things. I mean, I had people tweeting at me last night when I was on Channel 12 that, my hair didn't look good, and somebody tweeted at me and said, you need to go take a shower, and you need to do this, and you need to shave, and you've gained weight, and blah, whatever. Who cares about that kind of stuff? I don't think, again, you're equivocating this to both sides. There's a difference between that type of stuff and what Donald Trump and his supporters do that is unprecedented. And if I can just say, John, the reason that you're getting that type of anger, I think, when you go on CNN is because you're supporting the president that does these things. And people are absolutely unhinged about the idea that this can be normalized in American politics. And it needs to stop. It's not both sides. And as long as it's normalized, it's being normalized by both sides. It's not normal. Okay?
Ben, you're exactly right. Let me jump in.
Normal. And until the Republicans can get that out of their mouth without both sidesing it, then they're not going to be able to get any sort of crossover vote of any consideration from any Democrats. It's going to continue to be straight ticket voting from Democrats. And, if that's where the country is headed, where it's straight ticket voting, the Republicans are going to be a permanent minority party.
Ben, you're exactly right. And the normalization of this
from within right now, because it's going to be hard even 5-10 years after he leaves office for people to be able to stomach anyone that's willing to even use the brand Republican.
Well,
Ben, as you pointed out, this is not new to politics. It has been normalized. It's been normalizing over the last several cycles. But what is really offensive to a lot of, especially Democratic voters right now, is that it's normalized in the White House. And it's one thing when it's a congressman or a state senator or a House of Delegates, you kind of go, okay, you roll your eyes. He's not that dangerous. They see an existential threat when it's normalized in the presidency, and that's why you see this massive turnout from Democrats in Northern Virginia, 336,000 more than 2013.
Yeah, I mean, people are just unhinged about this, and I think they should.
There's no talking to them.
All right, so look, let's go forward here. Now the Democrats are going to have to govern, but what does this mean, do you think, Ben, for the midterms? Do you think this is a national message now? You think that the Democrats are going to be in a position to win the House of Representatives back, and how do you think it's going to affect the Congress?
Right. Well, I think what you can see from the results is that Democrats are not willing to split their tickets. So in any district that Hillary Clinton carried last year that have Republican members of Congress, and I think there's 26 of them. Obviously, those jump right to the top of the list of places where Republicans are outnumbered and Democrats are angry. So those people are just extremely vulnerable. The Barbara Comstocks of the world, I think almost every single Republican elected official on the ballot last night in Barbara Comstock's district lost. So you look at that and say, how is she going to survive that next year? It's hard to imagine how she even has a chance. The wave did not necessarily make its way out past those types of areas. I mean, I think we need to take a closer look at the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that when you look at this new Democratic majority in the House of Delegates, and I do think that when the dust clears, the Democrats have won 51 seats in the House of Delegates, and we can talk more about that.
I want to get. I've got another caller I want to get to, Ben. But you're right. I mean, that's what we project right now. Even though right now it's 50-50, but it appears if you just based on historical trend, David Yancey has a 12-vote lead over Shelley Simons, but provisional ballots have not been counted. We understand there's over 100 of them, and provisional ballots normally, historically, trend break towards the Democrats about 2-1. So if that were to be the case, she would get 65, he would get 35. That puts her up by 20. But who knows, right? It could be the opposite,
but
we don't
point being, John,
know.
is that, so you have, let's say 51 Democrats won. Well, Hillary carried 52 districts last year, and I believe that this is going to be an almost direct correlation. And so it doesn't look like this wave hit in other areas. It looks like it is exclusively to Democratic areas.
Suburban areas.
They got their voters. I mean, the same people that went out and voted for Hillary Clinton went out and voted for the Democrats
in bad weather.
And the Republicans were not inspired. They didn't get their people out. And
neither campaign had a really overriding policy-oriented vision of where they were taking, what problem they were solving for Virginia voters.
No message, no vision, no Virginia. But in that environment, the Democrats were right from the beginning. They ran against Trump. That's all they did.
That's all they had to do.
I didn't think it was enough. I was wrong. They were right. Ben was right. That's all they had to do. And you get the outcome you have. Now, Ben, let me ask you this. If the Democrats do win the House, 51-49, does Toscano become the majority leader, or is the Speaker, or someone else?
It's a great question, John. I mean, in some ways, I think the best thing that could happen for Toscano, and probably for the Democrats in the House, would be if it stayed at 50-50. Because if it was a 50-50 House, the logical path forward is very simple. You're going to have a power-sharing agreement. You're going to have equally divided committees. You probably get a reform in the House that there should have been for a number of years, that the minority leader can appoint the minority members to committees, which in the past the Speaker has always picked which of the opposition parties serves on committees as in the opposition slots, which creates a big problem. The problem with if the Democrats get the 51st seat is, first of all, there are a number of Democrats coming to Richmond that David Toscano wrote off and didn't support because he didn't see this wave coming, including the socialist that was elected in Manassas that they wrote off, and others. And congratulations to all of them, by the way. They all ran great campaigns, and they all deserve credit for even being abandoned by the leader, that they went out and did the things they needed to do. But now they're going to go to Richmond. Governing a one-seat majority with a bunch of people that you didn't back in the election is untenable for Toscano. The place is going to be a complete clown show if the Democrats win 51 votes, because you're going to have people that are going to be all over the map and angry with him and trying to embarrass him, and it's going to be just a complete debacle. If it's 50-50, the Democrats will have an opportunity to split the committees and actually start getting things in place. The other piece of this is, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why they need to make this reform, the Republicans took all of the Democratic issue experts off of the committees of which they were issue experts on. So the people that in the Democratic caucus that are former educators, they're not on the education committee. And the people that are involved in healthcare are not on the health committee, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so because of that, and because they decapitated all that knowledge, now what you're going to have is humongous infighting in the Democratic caucus over who gets to chair these committees. Take Ken Plum, for example, who's the most senior member of the House of Delegates. Ken Plum was on a number of influential committees before the Republicans took him off of them when they took the majority. So he has seniority on those committees, but he hasn't been on them in quite a number of years.
Yeah.
So now that the Democrats took back the majority, does he get to go back on those committees and chair them? Does it go to
chair
the
appropriations
member and the person that the Republicans picked to chair the committee because they served on it the longest? That's the type of thing David Toscano is going to have to go through if he has 51 seats, and it's going to be a complete disaster.
So basically, if
so Tribbett's calling for a complete disaster already.
Because it is going to be. I mean, the way Ben laid this out is right. It's like
it's exactly 50, right. I've been saying this all morning.
Yeah, but Ben said it in a way that was easier for me to understand.
Because he said as a Democrat. You want to fight with me because I used to be a Republican.
No, Ben, you're right. If it's 50-50, like the adults are in charge.
He listens to a Democrat. Well, listen to me.
49. Well, see, it's a clown show.
Here's the piece of it.
They have to make a deal.
Doesn't need to get every Democrat on board for things because if it's 50-50, you have both sides voting for it. Where if it's 51, he has to keep his caucus completely in line. So
every vote.
We're going to be
every House vote, every procedural vote, every subcommittee vote, every committee vote. They've got to hold the line every day.
I'm going to spend a lot of time in Richmond. That's all I know.
Dude, this is going to be reality TV on steroids.
Where do we stay there? I'll see you at the Lindenrow. Linden Row. That's where I'll see you at the Linden Row. Ben, we're out of time. Ben, I just got to ask you one question. Is Terry McAuliffe right now, today, right at this moment, 9:58? Is he not the front runner for the 2020 Democratic nomination for president? Yes or no?
No, but he did certainly improve his standing last night.
He's the front runner, and he's going to go to Iowa, and he's going to raise some hell.